I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, welcome. Here we are, West Point, Mississippi. September is just a few
right a couple days
hours
away.
I've got my dove hunting T-shirt on.
Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna
It
break
is
it in.
that time of year.
dove season. Guys are thinking about going elk hunting.
No, yeah,
It's
Max getting ready, going headed to New Mexico soon.
velvet season for whitetails.
Yeah.
It's kind of going on in a couple places.
Get your cameras out.
I
That's
saw
right.
some South Carolina boys killing some velvet bucks.
Yeah, I saw velvet. I can't figure out if it was last year or this year, but somebody reposted it.
Yeah, there was a Tennessee deer, a couple of really nice bucks in Tennessee that were killed last weekend.
So was the photo on Kerry Wicks's account? Was it a new one?
I don't know.
I believe it was.
Golly, what a buck!
He killed some big deer.
He does. Good
Yeah,
grief.
for sure. So look, guys, we got a full crew here today. This is going to be a really special podcast. We've got some guys that are they're a lot of fun, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. We've got through the magic of the Zoom, we've got Andy Mill and his son Nicky Mill.
All right.
And
I like the horn. That's good.
well, I like that hat you got on there, Andy. That's pretty special.
Oh, this is an old one. Yeah. It's kind of funny. The older you get, the more you like to hang on to old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This hat's been around a long time. Nikki used to complain that I was elk hunting in this hat until I killed one, and then it was okay to wear it.
Yeah. Well, so
I always ask him, "Where's your horse?"
that's a good
That is
one.
a
Yeah.
great one.
You got to have a little bit of character. These
Big
days.
hat, no cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no cattle.
Yeah.
So look, I came to know of Andy Mill through many years ago. I was told about these videos that he had that taught about fighting a tarpon, and he was trying to figure out how much pressure, how much weight you could put on a fly rod before that. He had done it some very scientific methods with weights and whatnot. That's how I came to know him. And then a few years ago, I discovered the Millhouse podcast, and it's a great one, guys. If you don't listen, you should. And but what really touches me, it's a father and son traveling around, enjoying nature, enjoying fishing, and they love elk hunting. But that whole father-son thing just really intrigues me, and the way they share it and do it together. So, but Andy is look, I've made some notes here. He's an Olympic skier. He's a downhill racer. And that's about as thrilling as it
I
gets
could
right
imagine
there.
so, yeah.
But a broadcaster, he's an author. He's just a very accomplished fly fisherman, and he may be the most famous, or maybe the best tarpon fly fisherman that's out there. He'll probably say no, but I don't know who's any better.
Oh no, I'm going with it. I'm all in.
Sold. Yeah.
But these guys are they've got really into bow hunting elk. They're just really interesting people. Lanny.
Yeah, big game stuff all the way around.
Lanny, I'd love to put you up on one of those downhill racing slopes and just push you.
Oh, well,
and
let
see
me
what
tell you,
happens.
it's going to be hard to get me up there if I'm a lowlander. I'll tell you that for sure.
I've got a distant cousin that used to do that. He grew up in Montana, and he had the suit, and he had the hat that the streamlined hat and everything. His name was Bubba Scott.
Well, my dad was a mountaineer, so I've had a little bit of mountain adventures, and he took me to the top one time, and he said, "You like it?" I said, "Get me down quick, buddy. It is time to go back to the creek bottoms." But it is beautiful out there, and there's nothing like this time of year. We're talking about whitetails, but I can start just reminiscing of the times I've been out west this time of year, and the smells and everything getting ready. And Max headed out there pretty soon, and I got to tell you, that western air and smells and those adventures just really get in your blood.
And likewise, Lanny, I feel the same way. And the only other time I have that feeling is when I'm out on the water.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
They've got it figured out.
that they do. The
And
vastest of it.
then this, it's equivalent of like the spring to me, because I mean that's such a special time. I guess spring would be out there too, but we have something going on down here. But
Yeah.
it's similar, that kind of the magic of the changing of the seasons. Those are the two big ones, winter into spring and summer into fall.
Summer into fall.
And
those elk are gobbling out there in the fall.
yeah,
It's crazy,
they're starting right now, I'm sure.
Well, let's hear what our guests have to say about that.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll just start by saying we're honored that you have asked us to be on your podcast. We have a lot in common, obviously. And when you're talking about the father and son relationship, I've got 2 other sons, but to be quite honest, I think as a father, you got to be really extremely lucky to have a son that gravitates to the stuff that you love, right? You can't force feed them. You take them to the water, and if you're lucky, they drink that magic stuff, and you spend the rest of your life with your kid. Like for Nikki and I, it's become a seasonal thing. You're talking about elk, so we're getting ready to start deer hunting this next week. We start elk hunting the 13th of September. We hunt Colorado for a week, and then we're going to hunt Wyoming for a week. And then in the spring, we go catch tarpon, and we'll tarpon fish for 6 weeks. So we kind of chase the seasons like what you were talking about. And that's the beauty of being an outdoorsman. The options are unlimited, really, because fishing is seasonal, if you will. I have a lot of ice guys out there, but hunting too. If you have both extremes, your life is full. And if you have a son that loves to hang out with you and you get along, as well as Nikki and I do most of the time, you have a good life, Yeah. So again, it takes a lot of luck, but it also takes, the willingness to kind of like chase the outdoors, and have a life in the outdoors.
And I will say, I mean, my dad's known for tarpon fishing, and I love to tarpon fish as well. But many don't know that elk hunting, that's our main passion. Like that's the tip of the iceberg for us. I don't think there's anything cooler than calling in a big bugling bull. I mean, I would rather go elk hunting and forget about tarpon fishing if I had to choose one.
Ooh.
Well, that was one of my questions, so he's already answered that one for sure.
Are you saying that because it is approaching fall and elk are bugling? I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes
when we're on the skiff in May, we're talking about elk hunting.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you an interesting story that took place because, podcasts are all about, the stories that evolved into success. Usually, some of your greatest moments, there's no success on the other end of it.
Yeah.
But I was working or have been working with the International Game Fish Association, emceeing the Hall of Fame event every year, which is taking place next week. And it was maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. I fly there on a Friday, and I get into the hotel room, and Nicky calls me really kind of excited. I said, "Hey, Dad, I almost killed this great bull tonight." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I called in this bull, and he had a bunch of cows, and the cows busted me. I was full draw, and I just threw this out." I said, "Well, don't go in there tomorrow night," which was Saturday night, the evening of the event. I said, "I'll be back on Sunday around noon. We'll go in there. We're going to go find him, and we'll kill him." And we did. We went in there, and we found this bull that he almost killed on a Friday night. I called it in, and Nicky killed it.
Wow.
And that was a grand slam, because who says that? We're going to go find him and kill him. You never find him and kill him.
Well, people say that. They don't usually execute on that.
That's
though.
right.
Yeah. Nikki, did you have a hard time not going Saturday night after?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I might have even went in the woods.
All right, guys. Well, look, but before we've got a lot of questions. We want to learn about y'all. We want to learn about the journey. But before we do that, I want to say something. We got word last night that a friend of all of ours, Pallot, passed away, and we got to spend a few days with him in a deer camp last year. He killed his biggest buck. It was Richie was sitting with him. Richie's not here, but just being around him, sharing that camp, and he was such a interesting person. He was such a bright light. And I know.
Very insightful.
Very yes, and Andy, I just can't. I imagine it's been a hard day for you learning that. Yeah, I'm sorry. And Nikki, we talked about this before coming on. It was just an amazing thing. It was an amazing thing. So.
Yeah, he was an amazing guy, and his perspective on the outdoors and fishing and every bit, and our role in it was something that everybody should pay attention to for sure.
Yeah,
so he'll be greatly missed.
Let me jump in here real quickly. The bottom line was he was not supposed to die. Mm-hmm. He was not supposed to die. He was not that sick. And we were texting. I was in Bolivia last week, Dorado fishing, and he texted me on Saturday. He said, "Hey, call me. I got a great idea." And I called him, and the connection was not good. He said, "Call me when you get back." And I called him, and he said, "Hey, I've got this great idea, but I have this procedure I've got to take care of tomorrow." And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, I've got this small little cancer lung surgery I need to take care of, but it's going to be fine. I'll see you on the other side." And he texted me and said that they're taking me to see the wizard. And I presume the wizard meant, this great doctor that was going to take care of him. But he didn't express any concern about the other side. Like he knew we were going to talk like the next day. And that was on Tuesday. And I get on an airplane in Florida. I'm on my way back to Aspen. And I text him. I said, Flip, I hope everything goes well. My prayers are with you. And then he's gone,
Yeah.
But guys like Lefty and Flip, they gave us a great chance to change our lives. And he changed my life immensely in the fact that when I first saw his TV show, Walker's Cave Chronicles, I was here in Aspen. I was doing Olympic commentary. I was the director of skiing here in Aspen. I had my own ski show. It was post my athletic career, but I had a big life in skiing. But I saw this stuff, and I saw all these great fish jumping out of the water and all this great wildlife, and the way he wrote and spoke, it was like a gravitational pull. And then you jump forward a number of years, and now I'm in Florida catching tarpon. I've got my own TV show, and he became a great friend and mentor. I did a TV show with him. And as we all know, you guys did the TV show with him. He was bigger than life. And what was so great about Flip is that he always spoke about trying or finding your truest voice. Mm-hmm. And his voice was always in the outdoors. You couldn't find him for a lot of times for, a number of days because he was in his little trailer, out in the woods, calling turkeys or trying to kill a deer. He really showed us what a great life in the elements and in the outdoors was all about. And he pulled a generation of people, not only myself, but everybody felt like they were connected to Flip because he had the answers, whether it be double hauling with a fly rod or knots or how to catch a big fish and talking about how great of a fishing spot that they were going to pursue that day. He was like somebody else said, the northern light, if you will, as far as this gravitational pull. And I think that you'll probably agree with a lot of that. But for me, without Flip's TV show, I would have probably remained in the ski world for the rest of my life. And my life was boring. After skiing at 80 miles an hour for a living, now I'm talking about it. But, right? Yeah. And it was just like, no, I don't like doing the commentary. I don't like doing all this other stuff. But it was a great way to make a great living. But then all of a sudden now, I completely left my shell and started flying out of the mountains and found the ocean. And it was because of Flip. He showed me what I wanted to pursue and test. So,
well, you said that very well. That I don't think we can add anything to that.
No,
just what a special guy. And we were blessed to get to spend a little time with
Just a
him.
little bitty piece of time with him.
Yeah. It amazed me. It seemed like he liked to make things harder. The way he bow hunted was the hardest way you could bow hunt. The way he fished.
He loved the challenges.
Yeah, but he loved that connection to all things wild. And there is something, I mean, not necessarily for everyone, but for him, he was more connected to the deer when he was using a traditional bow, and doing things, you say harder, but I think it was because it brought him closer to nature doing it that way myself. That's kind of what I see. And would you think the same, Andy?
Yeah, he was always asking us if we were going to trad shoot elk. And I said, look, Flip, I haven't had a shot in 2 years with a compound. What makes you think I'm going to go out there with a stick bow?
Mm-hmm.
If we're hunting private ranches where, certain areas like Ted Turner's ranches and you're in animals all day long, yeah. But we're public land elk hunting. And Flip, you don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen elk in 2 years.
Oh yeah, we get.
And then Nicky killed a nice bull a number of years ago, not too long ago, with a recurve bow. Flip was like so ecstatic, and he always called trad bow hunting the fly fishing of hunting.
That's a
good analogy.
That's a great analogy.
Yep. All right, so guys, let's do this. Let's change a little bit here. Let's start with Dudley's rapid fires. Get to know these guys a little bit better and set a mood, and we can carry on with some questions afterwards. All right, Dudley.
All right, guys. So like Bobby said, I'm going to ask y'all about 10 or 12 questions in rapid fire form. Just try to give a really quick answer, yes or no, that kind of thing. So,
Yep. And our rapid fires brought to you by our friends at Nutrient Ag Solutions. They're great guys.
Okay, so
based in Colorado, I might add.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask these questions once. Nikki, you answer first, and Andy, you answer second. How about that?
Okay.
All right. What wild collected meat do you consume the most of?
Elk.
Yeah, for sure.
Hunting and fishing aside, name a favorite area out west that stands out as having the best vibes and views. Just an area you love.
Pyramid Peak.
My house that oversees it.
Okay. I got to say the San Juans. I love the San Juans. What is the closest shot you've ever taken on an elk?
5 yards.
5 yards.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tight,
Man,
man.
that is close.
When you're at a nice restaurant, do you more often than not order bird, seafood, or four-legged animals?
Four-legged animals.
Fish.
Yes or no, and this is controversial. Yes or no, is it okay to bring a tarpon into the boat for a photo?
No.
No.
Do you clean big game mostly with a folding knife or a non-folding knife?
Non-folding knife.
Electric or non-electric for fish on the knife?
Non-electric.
Yeah.
Like it. What is the first fish you had mounted?
Largemouth bass?
Yeah, you had a largemouth bass. I killed a tarpon, an 82-pound tarpon on 6-pound test. We missed the world record by 4 ounces, and I had that one mounted.
Okay, well,
He deserves that.
Oh,
well,
It's okay.
You just answered 2 questions because I was going to say what's both of your best ultralight fish. So go ahead with that.
Tarpon. I'll go into specifics. It was like a 175-pound tarpon on 16-pound test.
Holy cow.
Goodness.
Wow.
Okay. And then as far as getting mounted, what was your first land animal you had taxidermed?
Elk.
Pick one, Wickles, pickles, or boiled peanuts.
Wiggles, pickles.
Oh,
All right, so I got to give a shout out to Wickles Pickles. I like to add their juice to my micheladas.
Oh.
yeah. Do y'all eat?
Yeah, it's a good call.
Do y'all eat boiled peanuts out there at all when you're on the boat fishing?
We'll have to send him some.
You need to try them. It's a southern
It's
thing.
delicious.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, in your tenures on the water, have you ever discovered a square grouper or other forms of contraband?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
How about that? Those are good
That's
questions.
a good
Tyler.
questions. Good job, Dudley.
Good answers.
Yeah. All right. So look, I'm gonna look at Andy first. Can you tell me how a guy from, and you already have a little bit, but you're a Rocky Mountain guy, and you find your way all the way to Florida, and you fall in love with these giant fish, the tarpon. How in the was there more to the story than what you just explained about Flip?
Yeah, no, Flip showed me, through his TV show how great it is. And then I was invited to go on John Barrett's TV show, Fly Fishing the World. And we were in Belize, and I saw tarpon eat my fly for the first time, where you could actually see the fish and target a fish in shallow water, clear, take that shot. And it's almost like dry fly fishing with an 80-pound fish, because you see everything. It's like, wow, I got to do this again. And at the time I had a home in Florida. So when I got back there, I called some friends and hooked up with Harry Spear and Bob Branham. And Harry Spear was my mentor for 7 years. I fished with him 50 days a year for tarpon. I couldn't get enough. It was just like, oh my God, it was just like this huge gravitational pull. Like when first time you hear an elk bugle, you got to go. Mm-hmm. And so Harry was my mentor for 7 years, and 40 some years later, here we are. And, but he groomed me to be a tournament fisherman. So when I got into that whole scene, it was, gave me a second chance to do something at a very large level. And that's always good, because in athletics, a lot of times you don't have a second chance, but winning these tournaments gave me that second chance. And I dove in head first.
Had you grown up fishing? Was that a part of your life?
I did. And I'll tell you an interesting story about fishing and COVID. I was about 8 years old when I was going to baseball practice on my bicycle with and I see this fly line in the baseball park on the other side of the field going horizontal. It was a string, right? And I rode my bike over there, and it was the great Ernie Schwiebert in town giving casting lessons to some of the VIPs at the local country store. And so I rode my bike over there, and he taught me how to fly cast. And then 10 years later, he was sleeping on my couch in Basalt, tying flies on the hood of my Vega, waiting them out. And then we went to Alaska together. And then you jump ahead another 30 years, and I inducted him. I was the MC when he was inducted into the Fishing Hall of Fame.
Wow.
How about
so
that?
We went full circle. Mm-hmm. And then during the COVID years, I was always a trout guy here in Aspen. I even guided briefly. But during the COVID years and prior COVID, the Roaring Fork River became so congested with fishermen, I kind of stopped fishing. I felt sorry for the fish. But when COVID hit, there was nobody here. There was not one airplane at the airport. The rivers were empty. So I had a chance to show Nikki the river like how I saw it, back in 1960. It was empty. There was nobody there. It was ours. And then we went to the Florida Keys, and it was the same thing. There was nobody there, and we got to see the fish, how they used to act, all those years ago.
Wow. Laney, you got a question?
Yeah, just understanding growing up in the mountains, was elk hunting part of your life when you were young, or was it all about skiing? And if it wasn't, how did you get introduced to that?
Actually, it was the golfer Greg Norman,
who
was really a great friend at that period of time, and he asked me to come with him over to his ranch. He owned Seven Lakes Lodge at the time, so he took me over there, and I killed my first elk with him. And once I started seeing these things bugling and doing their thing, again, just like tarpon fishing, I dove head first into that whole game. And I drove everybody crazy, because every time I got in my truck, I had a mouth reed in my mouth.
Yeah.
Whining and falling. Yeah. But yeah, it's so addictive. And here we are, I don't know, almost 20 years later, head over heels for the elk hunting.
Yeah.
Didn't you hunt when you were like 20? You guys went out camping and you didn't know what a bugle was, and you blew the tube.
Oh yeah. The very first time I went elk hunting, I was with a bunch of buddies. We were muzzle loading, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we went into the woods for some reason. It was late in the morning. We were partying and we were young and we didn't care, but we were with a bunch of older guys that were taking it very seriously. And I didn't understand, but I had this bugle tube that was like a coil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a little wound up coil. And I walked into the woods. We didn't go a couple hundred yards or whatever. I said, I'm going to blow this thing. And it was kind of like a lark, but I blew this thing. And a bull elk screamed at us, and all of a sudden started coming, and it scared the hell out of me. It's like, oh my God, what did I do? You know, we had no chance of killing that elk, but I was still in my ski racing career, so you know, I didn't really get into it until much later when we started bow hunting for them.
So ski racing, then elk, then tarpon. Is that kind of the way it happened?
Yeah, it was.
Tarpon then elk.
It was tarpon then elk.
Tarpon then
Yeah.
elk. Yeah. Cool.
Well, what everybody kind of develops a style of hunting. What do you guys do? Are you more often going to stay at home and drive and day pack in and hunt, or do you guys pack in and stay overnight in the backcountry? Can you get into that a little bit?
We used to backpack in, set up spike camp, and then hunt for 5 or 6 days, one location. The problem with that is that if there's no elk in that zip code, you're kind of
committed.
Yeah, you're really committed. So I don't know. We probably did that for close to 10 years. The spike camp.
Yeah, but Nicky almost killed me. We were up there. He killed this elk, and it took us 2 days to get it to the tent. And the tent was 5 miles from the truck. I had to have my back fused about 6 months after that
Oh, wow.
weekend.
Yeah, he did put it on you.
The type of things that you see and learn and do out there, it's so hard, but so rewarding. And I'll never forget this one time we were backpacked up in there, and it was snowing and raining and sleeting, and we had this little tent. And we're under this pine tree, and you can't have a fire. So we have freeze-dried food, and we have this stove going. Like, I don't want to be here, but I'm not going to say anything to Nicky. And I said, Nicky, what do you think? And he's huddling under this branch, and he goes, man, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And then I realized he was a lot tougher than I was.
But I would say recently we've been hunting a friend's ranch about an hour and a half away from here, which is just such a blessing because there's so many hunters in the woods and public lands around Aspen, Basalt, Roaring Fork Valley right now, where it's really tough. I feel like we only have two honey holes where if the elk get pushed into those holes, we can call 1 or 2 bulls in an afternoon, and the hunting's still pretty good. But other than that, it's so crowded. We're losing the numbers on our herd here, especially with the wolf reintroduction that just took place 20 miles away from us. But so if we hunt public around here, we'll typically stay at home. We'll go in at like 4:30, 5 in the morning, and come out at night, just so we can pop in here, pop in there. We can be a little versatile. It's our favorite thing to do, and I actually enjoy mule deer hunting probably more than elk hunting. I really love the glassing aspect. I love trying to find your deer, don't take your eyes off him, wait till he beds, and then go in there and try to get the job done. I really enjoy glassing. I like bedding the animals, and I like that spot and stock method a little more better.
The deer he killed last year died at 12,300 feet.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. Yeah.
I think I would have probably died at 12,500 feet.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
And I've never really understood this, because we've always been, on the hoof, spot and stock, chasing bugles. I don't understand the mentality of somebody who's got a farm or a ranch and they have food plots. It's like you're growing these pets and then you're killing them. And they call that hunting. when they're sitting in a tree stand, and it's more killing than anything. But you're killing your pets.
You just opened up a can of worms.
Yeah. It's not that bad.
Yeah, they're not pets.
They're not pets at all. I mean, we're wild as they get. I mean, and it's all free range, and the terrain down here, I love nothing more. And you can ask all these guys in spot and stalk hunting. It to me, well, we call it still hunting here. You know, it was how I was raised, but the terrain doesn't necessarily, I guess, allow for that for these spot and stalk scenarios. When y'all were talking about elk hunting and tarpon fishing, I could see the relation between that because of sight fishing and sight hunting. But I mean, a lot of places around here we can't see 100 yards. It's just that thick.
You can't see 50 yards.
You can't see 50 yards. And I'll let everybody else expand, but it's not pets. It's wildlife. But we sincerely love them that much, I guess is the best way to put it. But it is part of our culture that they have sustained, you know, us in the rural communities in the South. I mean, it's been a thing of sustenance and a part of our way of life just as long as people have been chasing elk. It really is. So it does, when you say y'all are shooting your pets, you know, we do love them I don't know.
Well, I'd take the one issue is that kind of connotes, and I don't know if you meant that, is like they're tamer or something.
Yeah,
like
they're
that.
not tame
There
at
is
all.
nothing in the world as hard, much harder than elk hunting to kill a mature whitetail in the southeastern
Southeast,
U.S.
that's right.
And everybody that bow hunts will tell you the same thing. In fact,
Same
a lot
thing with
of them
turkeys, yeah.
from other parts of the country won't even come down and hunt because they're so hard. So, you know, that part, you know, is not necessarily the case. I just know that I've always talked about hunting in general, and I've always stuck and most people that hunt are great people. You know, just like everything, there's always a few bad eggs in every group, you know, but nobody will love that animal more than the people taking their life.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard for people that are anti-hunting to understand, but because what we do get to do when we have a farm stuff, we get to care for them. We get to take responsibility for the population. We don't have to leave it to the government or somebody else. And so there's something so connective about taking care of your little piece of the earth, wherever that is.
Yep.
And so that's kind of the magic of it. I think all of us, as we get older and we get more into doing that, we aren't as hyped up about shooting stuff. I mean, I get
it's all about growing it.
Yeah, taking other people really gets a rush on it. So,
and if you look at how much wildlife habitat we've created as hunters and private landowners down here, it's really what's affecting the populations in general. The public land would not be as good if we're not hunting, if we're not working as hard as we are in the private land. Yeah. And I grew up hunting private land 100%. And still love it. Still love elk hunting, private, love it. I mean, public land all the way around. But the effect we're able to have on the wildlife populations by what we're doing, and 9 months out of the year, we're working on these places. You know, hunting seasons are relatively short. But I guarantee you, if you go look at the amount of habitat that private landowners in the South have created for wildlife, it's more than any World Wildlife Organization, more than the Arbor Day, more than anybody has done for habitat.
What this points out too, Lanny, is that this country is very, very diverse. And what is, you know, I call it native, but what is common for the Southeast versus the Midwest versus the Northeast is actually very different and there's probably different scenarios in the far West. But, you know, when I do travel out there, which hasn't been a lot, but it is a completely different country, so to speak, from a hunting, philosophy, wildlife management, all that perspective.
And area. I mean, there's, you know, these private lands here are small, you know, kind of areas. The vastness y'all have access to it's a lot different dynamic. Now, I love it out there for sure.
I do too.
Yeah, and there's nothing like, I mean.
And I don't necessarily disagree with you either.
Me neither.
You know?
Me neither.
I know, like Toxie usually prefers to slip around in the woods and go squirrel hunting. Lanny likes to deer hunt on his feet more than anybody.
Yeah.
I like to do both, but I love nothing more than just to go walk around on public land and kind of hunt like that, even though I know my chances are a lot worse. if I want to fill my freezer, I probably am going to go sit on a green field or overlook a tree dropping acorns or something.
Yeah.
And do some doe meat collecting.
And we've got to kill like 5 does to equal 1 elk. You know what I mean? So
Or more.
We got to get on it hard. You know, we do. I got 2 boys,
But
so we got to feed them.
I totally understand where you're coming from.
And the perspective, because it is a different kind of thing to understand, and we talk about it a lot.
And you know what? Also, too, you're so lucky because you guys have a chance to raise these animals. Whereas out here in the West, one of the biggest problems we have is the biomass is getting pushed out of these valleys because of all the mountain bikers and the hikers, people yapping up into the high country. You can't go anywhere without a herd of people on top of all these mountains out here.
Wow.
So public land hunting, we're talking about conservationists. Hunters are the ultimate conservationists, right?
Yes.
No
We
question.
take care of our
100%.
animals. We raise a bunch of money to do the right things. But out here in Colorado, they've just recently put in a draw. You got to draw your elk tag
For non-residents.
Right.
which is really good because
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
let's just say for 2 years, I didn't even have a shot because there's too many people in the woods. But now if we kind of eliminate the numbers, now your hunting is going to get better.
Yep.
Right?
Theoretically.
Yeah, and the management, y'all's animals are nomadic. They're covering these wide areas, and ours are more homeboys, I guess the best way to be.
Well, I mean, they're not as nomadic as like the waterfowl migration thing and all, but
Right.
it goes back to the basic principles of the whole North American management.
Yeah, the wildlife management model.
We care for our wildlife. You said the hunters are the greatest. Sure, they're the greatest conservationists. That's no argument there. And guess what? There's never been a game animal go extinct either.
No, that's right.
Because they're cared for as part of a plan. And whether it's the waterfowl, and that's a whole different animal because they largely raise their young in northern U.S. and Canada and stuff like that. Then they migrate,
Covering
but we're
countries.
still monitored. And thanks to our great friends at DU and people like that, what I'm getting at is we have to hunt based on what's best for them. And I know we don't always do it, but they'll change the plan, they'll cut the limits down or whatever. And if there's a surplus, we can benefit from that too. Same thing with elk is happening out there, which I hate to cut down opportunities for anybody, but we gotta all agree we're gonna do what's best for the critters.
Always.
And if it's better for the elk populations to cut back a little bit, I'll say most hunters would love to have more diversity from public access so that maybe I can't go quite as much, but when I do, there's a draw. I've got a chance to draw just as good as a private property somewhere. And that, they have that kind of diversity available. There's some stuff they can go every year maybe, and there's some stuff that's much, much more, guarded, for lack of a better word. I cherish that for the wildlife to get some control because I get on my soapbox. It's like we got to do what's best for the critters first. And if we're good enough at managers, as conservationists, to create great excess, then let's go enjoy the great excess. But let's do our job first.
The main reason why they went to a draw for non-residents is that they had no data for how many hunters are hunting what over-the-counter unit.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah, and
makes
you
sense.
got to have that.
You have to have that.
Yeah.
So now they went to a draw so they can really say, okay, there's 5,000 hunters in Unit 43 and there's 3,000 hunters in Unit 47, as opposed to last year, 2 years ago, they had no idea how many hunters were hunting elk in the over-the-counter units around here, and that's just no good.
Oh, you've got to have that data.
Yeah, and the complexities of managing the herd and what y'all have going out there, I think it's way more complicated than what we're dealing with here, for sure.
Yes.
It's a lot more finite here, I guess is the best way.
You know what's really crazy is now they've reintroduced the gray wolf here in Colorado, right here in the Aspen Valley. And they put it on a ballot so that the normal average voter could vote on this instead of having the biologist determine whether or not the wolf should be reintroduced. How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I got some crazy stuff going on in Colorado.
We see that in a lot of, Department of Natural Resources, and this can be a touchy subject, but oftentimes, the biologists will recommend something to the commission, but the commission is the one that votes. and a lot of people vote with their conscience.
I'm
and-
fixing to
and
break
not-
out in a rash.
Not necessarily.
He's talking about mixing politics with wildlife management, and I break out in hives.
It's just tough.
Because that is
That's
no
right.
place for politics.
No, it
Yeah.
isn't.
But,
Zero.
we need to strive and make our voice heard, that these commissions, these people that are serving on the commission for each state's Department of Natural Resources,
Yes.
they need to have an education that is based on natural resources. For example, a person who owns a construction company that's on the commission, they may not have a background in wildlife, but they're going to have a vote, where most of the time the people don't have a vote. But yeah, some states are, taking a popular vote to see how it works. And
That's
let's
a tough
face it,
one.
a lot of people that don't hunt or fish or aren't knowledgeable of natural resources are, voting with their heart. And a lot of those are people that will go buy some chicken or beef at the grocery store.
Yeah.
So,
And I got no issue with voting with your heart as long as your heart is educated on everything.
Right.
That's
most
where the
important.
rubber meets the road. They have no idea, and they're making decisions on stuff they have no. We got to, my word, if there's one thing we should manage is data, and there's so many unbelievable servant-spirited professionals that are, biologists and scientists and researchers that their whole life. I mean, I start seeing you've probably done some work there. The documentaries on the people that live there, like y'all got there going to see Marcus Lashley. He's unbelievable. But his team and what they're doing down there for the wild turkey, it's incredible. They're just pouring their life into a wild animal's, well-being.
Yeah.
And why we can't start with that, I do not know. And I know there's going to be government and politics involved, just because this is the way it is. But they should have to start with all the data and facts first, at least.
Yep, we agree. And Andy, we do.
We got on the soapbox there. I saw it.
Yeah. I
Some
will,
some
sorry.
of us do. We name these bucks.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
it's
Hercules right there. Matter of fact.
Yeah, meet Hercules.
Yeah, but he named him after he named him. I think it was even more morbid of Bobby because he waited till he killed him and then named
No,
him.
they had named.
They'd already
the
named
Lindsays
Lindsay's
had
named
named.
Hercules.
All right,
He had
all
a
right,
name.
all right.
But it's a great way once you identify one. I do think it's kind of goofy, but it is a great way
It
to
is.
you name him, and then
fun.
you keep up with him with your family or the other club members, and then instead of saying, "Hey, I saw that Big Ten," you saw Hercules.
or No Brow, or
Yeah.
Wide Load, or
Yeah.
the Big Ten.
Oh,
The
the
big
the
Ten.
best
It
ever-
is
That out
goofy.
here.
But-
We do that out here.
I will say, who names their farm animals that they eat? I mean, they don't do that.
Yeah, no, we do here for sure.
Well,
We even named the does.
I don't think
It's like,
we
look
used
at old
to.
long nose there. If she steps out, she's getting a hammer,
I
buddy.
think I'm going to say I heard of Will Primos used to name turkeys he was chasing and stuff, but that was just like I say the '90s before people started naming critters type of thing, and I think it kind of accentuated when trail cameras came along.
Yeah,
And then,
100%.
Yeah.
because one of the great ones, Jeff Foxworthy,
the best.
and they've got the video of him. They
Yeah, this
and
is
he's
great.
like. He's like sending message. I killed Will Smith. I killed Will Smith.
Yeah,
And it was this deer with those
Just
straight
super
up,
tall,
super
yeah.
tall, straight up horns, and it was like a Will Smith hairdo back when he was just starting out. So, but he named everything based on the camera senses. So I
Yeah.
think that kind of kicked it in overdrive.
And we're tracking these animals from 2 and 3 years old and trying to, even in the South, they're 6 or 7 before they become mature. So you do develop relationships with them, and you're wondering, is he going to show back up? And he is. You're like, Hercules showed back up. Thank goodness. But there's, I would say, how many of them show back up?
not as
Most
many
of
as
them
you want.
don't.
No.
Yeah, most of
Yeah.
them don't.
I got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Once you start growing these animals and you name them and you see that they're going to become really great trophies down the road, and you finally get, Hercules or this great animal, do you guys ever feel great sadness that he's no longer alive and that you can see him on these trail cams? And
I don't.
A little bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, whenever you harvest an animal, there's a moment of gratitude.
There should be, yeah.
and-
There
and-
should be. I
I'm
think we
always
should be.
thankful.
I think managing that contradiction of emotions
That's
is
right.
a part of doing what we do and learning to manage that and like accept it and don't. What I don't like is the too much stomping and yelling and disrespectful.
Yeah,
I think
throwing stuff in there.
What I do, however it comes to pass, we should have the deepest sense of respect for whatever that we take the life of.
That's right.
Yeah, I was raised to just walk up to the animal and maybe get on a knee and pet it and say, "Thank you, Lord."
Yeah,
well, 100%. And then
You just kind of look at it and look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
But I will say I'm not a great turkey hunter, but when I kill a turkey on my own place,
it's pretty
I
jubilant.
do kind of regret not being able to chase it anymore. I mean, I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the ultimate honor, for it is taking that animal home and feeding it to my family. I think that's one of the best ways I can show respect to what I do.
Absolutely.
After giving thanks, obviously to our Lord and Savior for the opportunities, but. I don't feel bad about it.
This guy's good. He's turned the table on us completely.
For real.
And
We're supposed to be asking.
he is interviewing us, and he's sitting there comfortable and watching us sweat over the
I honestly love these questions.
I'm loving it.
Absolutely. I love it too.
But
Because I love having your perspective.
we get sad when we hear about one of the deer we've been
Now, when
raising up.
somebody else
Yeah,
kills
no.
one of the deer we've been chasing, I get real sad.
Yeah, when the neighbor kills the one you've been sacrificing for.
That's the lowest of lows.
That's sad.
That's therapy. You have to
Yeah.
sit there and go to therapy. for a
Let's
while.
turn this back on them. Well, I mean, let's take a deep breath here. But Andy, I wanted to ask you, when you first started going to the Keys, what was the fishing like then, and compare that to today?
It is, and I think it's really important to remember these are still the good old days for the people who are just getting into our sport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care whether there's somebody who just bought a bow this week to go hunting next week. This is the best time of his life or her life, just like going fishing in the Keys. When you're in front of an animal or a big fish like that, it's one of the most exciting things in your life. And it's really bad for somebody who has been around the game for as long as I have and some of these other guys to talk and denounce about the state of the fishery. When I first started fishing down there, a little maybe 40 years ago, there were very few boats. There were some, but yes, the fish were still very innocent and gullible. Tarpon, for the most part, want to be caught. They're not persnickety like a permit, where they're, like Steve Huff calls them, they're just not fair. You can do everything perfect, dishonest, and you still can't catch them. Where tarpon want to be caught. They're like a dog that wants to, come into the house and get a bone. If you do something fairly well, tarpon want to bite your fly, and they jump and they fly around. They put big old holes in the ocean. It's one of the greatest things you'll ever see. And when I first started doing it, it was insane, because you might get 10 or 12 bites a day and catch 5 or 6 fish, and they're between 60 and 120 pounds.
Wow.
But now you don't see nearly as many. The game is much more technical. When I was first fishing, the monofilament off the hook of your fly, we were using like 80-pound tests, and you're allowed like 12 inches, and then you use 16-pound tests after that. But they have this very coarse mouth that they'll chew through. They'll wear through like sandpaper if you have anything less than, what we're fishing with now, like 40 and 50-pound tests. But now we're using very, very small little hooks, whereas before there were big hooks like this. Just like everything in the outdoors, we've got to be smarter. We've got to hunt better. We've got to fish better, and you can still get them, but it's really a lot harder than what it used to be. But if you do it and you have a high-end professional guy that can work through these elements, you can still catch fish. But it's a lot different for sure, just like everything else. It's just like my buddies here in the Aspen Valley, when they first started hunting elk here, they were calling in 3 to 5 bulls every day. And you could pick and choose which one you wanted to kill, and it didn't take very long to harvest an animal. Now, 2 of our best friends, one of them has killed I think 25, almost maybe 30 elk with his trad bow. They didn't even come close to even getting a shot last year. And these are guys who are walking they sleep in the woods and they hunt from dark to dark. And they cover, I can't tell you how many miles, and they never got a shot.
But I think it's interesting too. Like I hear stories like in the '80s when Steve Huff and Harry Spear were guiding down in the Keys. You know, they'd be fishing the backcountry, and if they saw a boat, they'd run over there to say hi, because you never saw a boat.
And you'd ask, what do you see? Where are you? Where are you going
Yeah,
next?
they were so friendly. It was like, what are you doing here?
And also, too, if you're broke down, you wanted to know where there might be somebody you can shoot a flare at, you know?
And now today, it's like if you don't get your spot, if you don't get a good spot early in the morning, you're screwed because all the other spots are going to be taken. There's no bouncing around and chasing tides really on the ocean side in April and May.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yes, like a typical day, Bobby's tarpon fished. I've never tarpon fished. I've spent a lot of time in the Keys, primarily underwater. But can you give us kind of what a day like that looks like? I mean, are you, you know?
Yeah, you can go ahead. No, you go ahead.
You go ahead. So, honestly, it depends on the tide. If it's a high tide in the morning, we'll put the boat in around, I would say 6:30 in the morning. We'll head to a laid up tarpon spot where the tarpon like to feed in these nearby lakes and lagoons. When I say lakes and lagoons, I'm talking about a little deeper basin on the ocean side next to a channel where the fish can be cruising the channel and the tide's a little high where they can jump the bank and get into these areas where they might be cruising around, feeding and sliding around, maybe laid up high in the surface. So you're actually pulling your boat right when the sun's coming up, where you can get a little light and you're looking for backs or sliding fish. And that's really where you can do some damage, where you can get, you can get a couple bites and catch fish is when they're in those basins early in the morning. And then once that sun comes up, we'll typically head on out to the ocean where you're going to get shots at migrating fish. Either singles or, a string of 5, 6, 7, 8 fish. And I would say this year, I don't know, we probably got on the ocean side anywhere from 15 to 30 shots a day, I would say, at migrating fish. And I feel like we're pretty good at the game.
Yeah.
And so if you're good, you can turn those 15 to 30 shots into 6 to 8 bites,
and maybe catch three or four.
Yeah. So the fishing's still pretty good. And then once that sun starts to go down again, we'll start hunting them in those basins, looking for laid up fish.
Like you did in the morning.
We do in the morning. And then we'll take the boat out, around 6
to 6:30. Yeah. So we fished like 12 to 13 hour days. There was a spell a number of years ago where there was some really nice, there's a lot of fish in this one basin. And we thought it would be doable to actually fish 17-hour days. So we were putting the boat in at 4 in the morning. Jeez. And by the time the sun would just touch the horizon, we might have hooked 6 to 10 fish.
Yeah, we're not purists. We like to throw spin rods, plug, whatever
they bite on. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So back then, early in the morning, when you because who wants to blind cast all day long, right? No. So you want to hunt the fish when the sun is up, but when the sun's not up, you could throw a plug or a hoagie worm or whatever and do some damage in the dark, right? Because you hear them roll, you can see them roll. And then during the day, we'd go pull around when the sun was up, and then we'd fish till 10 o'clock at night. So we were fishing 17-hour days. Ooh, and after the fourth day, we never drank or ate any food on the boat. So after the fourth day, I started throwing up from dehydration and popped a blood vessel in my eyeball. My eyeball filled up with blood. I had a solid black eyeball for about 6 months.
Man, time to back off fishing just a little bit. Yeah. When you're sight fishing and you're looking for them, or using binoculars, is it all just sunglasses? I mean, how are y'all finding them? or seeing them.
Well, really, the guy on the back of the boat is on the is on the pulling platform.
Yeah.
So,
He's
he's on
got
a
a-
platform above the motor, so he has some elevation. And you can if it's sunny or even if there's a little clouds, as long as it's not totally glary overcast. I mean, you can see him coming from 80 to 100 yards away.
Maybe
Oh,
even
wow.
longer on a really sunny day. And
Yeah.
it's great because it looks like this log jam is floating toward you. And they're big, wide-backed tarpon. And sometimes you'll see a school of 20 or 30 coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it gives you a chance to get, all wigged out.
Yeah.
You've seen
Oh.
people that come fishing with us. It's like, oh
Start
my
shaking.
God, they're like,
There he is.
they can't even get the fly out of their hand.
Yeah.
Right?
That kind of reminds me of an old southern dog deer hunt,
Yeah.
where you hear those hounds coming at you, but you can't really see anything yet.
Yeah, you can only see
get
50
excited.
yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turkeys and elk.
Turkeys and elk.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
That got me excited.
Oh yeah, I can see you over there just spinning around.
I love what they're talking
I don't
about.
think you caught as many as they do though
No,
when you
no,
went.
no, not at all. So the first one I caught was with Craig Brewer, and it took about an hour to get it in the boat, and he was
as it should.
but he was trying to let me enjoy it, and he wasn't giving me a lot of. I mean, he was fussing at me the whole time, but. After that one, I was like, I was good for a few hours. There.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, that was
Where
kinda
you
like,
at?
yeah, it did. I don't know how y'all catch 6 of them in a day. Goodness gracious.
I bet you get kind of in shape.
Hardcore is how they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind over matter, Bobby.
Evidently. Well, so that's how I learned about Andy. He did these videos, learning just how hard he could pull on some of these leaders and whatnot. That was very scientific and very way ahead of his time there. Andy, I'm remembering that right, aren't I?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I was trying to figure out how hard you can pull with 16-pound test tippet. Like when you pull really hard on a fish, when you have that rod bent and you're pulling,
Right.
do you have any idea how much pressure you're having on the other end of that string, right? So we used to always maybe this is one reason why I've been married so many times. I used to always have my ex-wives hold a scale, and I'd stand back and they would read off how hard I was pulling on a scale, right? I got to figure out a better way. So what I did is I went to a hardware store and I got a pulley that spins, right? So I could put my butt section of my leader through that pulley, and I'd mount the pulley on the underside of a table. And I was thinking, ideally, if I could learn how to pull 12 pounds, then I have a little bit of gray area to make a mistake before I'm going to break that fish off. And I'm fishing tournaments now, so I want to learn how to catch these fish quickly. So it's better for the fish, and I'm going to be able to catch more fish throughout the course of a day. So initially, I would fill a bucket with 12 pounds of dirt, and I would weigh it, and I'd tie my butt section to that bucket, and I'd stand back in my garage, and I'd straighten the rod, and I'd start pulling with a straight arm and pull it straight back. And when the bucket would come off the floor, voila, I had 12 pounds. I didn't have to have somebody hanging onto a scale.
Mm-hmm.
So now I could go out in my garage and turn some music on and have a beer and really start working with the techniques of how to pull, not only with how much weight, but actually with your body anatomically. If you pull hard with a fly rod and you put a big bend in it, you're going to be bending with your bicep here. So you go into the weakest part of your fly rod, the tip, which is very flexible, and your bicep. So if you want to pull somebody over, you're not going to grab their hand and bend your elbow. You're going to pull straight back and lean back and pull with your legs. That's exactly how you fight big fish. So now I'm learning how to catch a 100-pound fish in 10, 15, maybe under 20 minutes, catching these giant fish. Like Nicky's 175 he caught a couple of years ago in 16. He caught that fish in under 30 minutes. It was like 29 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's how the game has changed when you study very clearly with objectives and trying to figure out what's going to be better for me and the fish. And now you become really efficient at what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And no one has ever taught me or anybody else that I know of in the fishing world how to fight fish. How do you pull on a fish? How do you get better at this? But this was the first way that now when I do seminars around the country, I can teach people to put the rod up against their belly, stand back, straight arms, lean back and lift with your legs.
Mm-hmm.
And the proof is in the pudding. When you put a lot of weight on the end of your fly line and you try to bend that rod, it's not going to work. So anyway, that's how I got into learning how to pull and teach people how to fight big fish.
Very technical.
Yeah.
Interesting though. He did
technical.
it's brilliant actually. But the same thing we just talked about, where people should manage wildlife, and the government should use the states to manage wildlife. He used hard data. Mm-hmm. He did he did very meticulous research on what he's trying to perfect, and I think it's brilliant. But we should. I just keep going back to that conversation. How we have such a big need to start with the research. You know,
Absolutely.
perfect analogy.
So I'm assuming the tarpon fishing began, off the tip of South Florida. How far has it expanded? Like if you were to go up the Atlantic and go west in the Gulf,
That's a great question.
how far has that expanded? I know when I used to go to Venice, Louisiana a little bit, you would hear about there was a little fishery there. So can y'all just explain that for a minute?
I'll do my best. I think that the earliest beginnings of tarpon fishing really took place in the Boca Grande, Homosassa area on the west coast of Florida. I think A.W. Dimmick released some books in the 1800s talking about tarpon fishing in canoes in the Boca Grande, Homosassa area. But yeah, I mean, as far as fly fishing for tarpon, that really took off in Key West and in the Florida Keys. And then now today, I mean, people are fishing all the Keys, all along the east coast of Florida, all along the west coast of Florida, up into, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, Mexico.
And Neil caught a big one off the Alabama coast.
They could catch them in Mississippi too.
Yep.
Yeah. If you look at the Caribbean rim, right? So if you look at the United States, the Gulf of Mexico, all that water that's got 80-degree water has tarpon, right? They don't like cold water, so they're not going to gravitate too far up the East Coast. But the Caribbean rim, if you take a look at it, between the Bahamas, Cuba, Nicaragua, Mexico, that whole Gulf of America will most likely have tarpon. But the biggest ones are probably over in Africa, where the world record is 88 pounds.
That's a big old minnow.
But they've seen fish at 350 pounds over there.
Goodness
and I don't know if it's a different genetic tarpon, but those are where the really big ones live.
Bobby's calling his travel agent.
I'm going to Africa.
So look, I wanted to ask Andy specifically. I mean, you've gone down these hills racing down them. I don't know how fast you're going, but it was probably
80. He said
80 miles an hour. Okay. What's the bigger thrill, going 80 miles an hour, or seeing a big tarpon out there and wanting to lay a fly in front of him, or having a big bull elk bugling back to you? What's the most exciting thing of those?
You really cannot compare that. When you're standing in the starting gate of the Olympics and you're one of 4 Americans racing and representing your country, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, bugling in bugling in a spike, I don't care how big that elk is, that's a big deal. Whenever you see a tarpon, I don't care how big it is, if you sight fish that fish and you throw your fly there and you bump it and you watch this mouth come over and go and gobble your fly like this, and you happen to hook him and see this thing go flying out of the water, it's a big deal. If now I'm an older guy now, I'm 72. I don't have to ski anymore. I'm kind of over it. It's kind of boring because I can't ski the way I once did. And if I tried, I can still go fast and have a little bit of fun with it. But it's like, what pro golfer wants to go shoot 100 at the age of 75, right? And I compare that to my racing days when I was skiing in the Olympics. I would much rather be in Florida in the winter, playing some golf down there, and when the weather gets right, go shark fishing or go tarpon fishing. So life is about options, and I'm just lucky to have a chance to understand and see these three great sports at a very high level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have, and you've done it well.
Yeah.
You've done it the right way.
Y'all fish out of Marathon, or you don't have to tell me where you fish out of. I was just kind of Marathon seems like the fishing kind of space in the Keys.
We fish out of Sugarloaf.
Oh yeah, I know where Sugarloaf is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 27 miles, northeast of Key West, coming back up to the mainland.
Yeah.
Dudley, you got another question?
Not right now. I'm thinking of one.
Well, I wanted to ask: was there a moment when you? And this question to actually Austin Stapleton, and I think you guys know Austin. He
I know Austin very well. Yeah.
He is.
He's everywhere.
He's
everywhere.
everywhere.
Anywhere there's a hunting camp, all of a sudden Austin shows up. I don't know how he figured that out.
I
He's
could
pretty
go
good at it. I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the character in the book or whatever? That is Waldo, maybe?
Yeah.
Someone that just every time you turn your head, there he is.
I think-
Even on television, on people sending
There he is.
posts or pictures, it's like he is everywhere.
I think he's the world's second most interesting man.
Yeah.
What was it's the on Mr. D's where the guy is very sneaky. He's
Yeah, you
always there.
underestimate my
You
sneakiness.
underestimate my
Shout out to
sneakiness.
Austin. I've even been scouting for whitetails on my own property here and didn't
And
even
there he
know him
is.
yet. And I look up in a tree stand. There's this bearded guy. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And it's Austin on my property.
My favorite story is the opening day of turkey season in Alabama. We're all up getting drinking coffee. You look out the back window in Shamula, and he stands up and he goes, "How'd you get here all of a sudden?" Yeah.
He's amazing. He
Anyway,
gets around.
sorry.
Yeah.
We love
Enough
you.
on Austin,
We
yeah.
love you, and we love to pick on you.
Yeah, and by the way, your whitetails are here at the office, so come
Yeah,
get them.
two beautiful
Yeah, two
ones.
good whitetails.
Yeah.
Yeah. He even got his mounts up here. Anyway.
So he had a question, and I think this is for Andy. But he said, "Is there a specific moment when you realized that you wanted to chase tarpon in a certain way and kind of make a career out of it?"
I think once I had gotten to the point where I was really fishing well with Harry Spear, and we fished a bonefish tournament, and we got the very first tournament, we got second, then we won the very next one. I realized at that point that I was pretty good, and I had such amazing coaching from Harry. And then I fished my first tarpon tournament with Harry. Then I realized that this is something I wanted to chase down, because as an Olympic skier, I never won at the highest level. My best was 5th in the pre-Olympics and 4th in a World Cup. I got 6th in the Olympics, but that's not winning. I tell people, look, I was a good skier. I was not a great skier. Great skiers win the Olympics, and they win the Olympics a number of times. So when I got into fishing, I realized that I had a chance in tarpon fishing. These big tournaments were a big deal. They are a big deal, especially in the Florida Keys. The Gold Cup is the Super Bowl of tarpon fishing. Once I got there, I realized the difference of in my own ski career. Right at the end, just before I got hurt, I figured out how to win, and I was about ready to win. Then I got hurt. I fell in a big event, and I broke my neck, my back, and my leg. And that took me out of the game. But as a fisherman, jump forward all those years, I realized then that I had a chance to do something at a high level again. And I dove headfirst into this tournament scene for 18 years.
Determined.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, he's a very competitive spirit.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that comes probably
Yeah. That
started
translates
in that.
into, yeah.
Started with that the racing probably. Yeah. So, Dudley, did you come up with your question?
I'm just soaking all this in.
I do have. Look, I think we would be remiss if we did not ask about the process that you used, Andy, to introduce Nikki and maybe some of your other children to the outdoors. I always think that guys listening to us could learn something about introducing their kids or potential grandkids to the sport. What did you learn along the way? Was there things you did right and things you did wrong?
Well, I'd like to have Nicky answer this question because he has a better perspective on what clicked for him. You know, my objective was to show them all these different things at a very simple level. Like, let's go fish off of a dock with some shrimp and catch as many little snapper as we can and see if they like that. Then we'll go catch some mullet, maybe go catch a barracuda. But it was all about waiting to see how they responded to what they were seeing and doing. And then, you know, the rest is kind of history. But I think, Nikki, you best can tell them what worked for you.
I just kind of gravitated towards whatever my father was doing, whether it was soaking bait for shark fishing or, you know, fishing the high country lakes in Colorado. I really enjoyed being outside. I enjoyed hanging with my dad. And, you know, a lot of it had to do with my dad and his friends. I wanted to hang out with these guys that were so cool, larger than life figures. You know, that was the whole reason the podcast started as well, was my dad has incredible stories, but you know, his friends have incredible stories as well. And I wanted to hang out with them more so than I wanted to hang out with my 20-year-old friends. You know, I learned a lot from them. They had a lot of wisdom. Man, I don't know, whatever my dad did, I gravitated towards it. And, you know, still 31 years old, and I just want to hang out with my dad. And fish and hunt.
That's
I
good
can
stuff.
appreciate that 100%.
Yeah, there's so many people say their dad's their hero.
And no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And spending time with them, whether, you know, you grew up out west or in the South, you know, spending time with them is
Yeah,
what's
Toxie,
important.
you can relate to that for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and everybody knows that may be one of the more, whatever.
Yeah.
It's been out there in front of the world so many times. But I made the note from the very beginning to say something about, because that's a core philosophy for our whole place here is time is your most valuable asset. Always will be. And just being wise enough to recognize it and embrace it and all. They are great examples, I guess is a better word, of that. And everybody in their own way, but just look at how they did this and how they have the relationship through all these things that we love so much. And they're spending, I mean, they squeeze every minute out of every day. Quite honestly, we're talking about 17 hours.
Yeah, in the boat
We love
fishing.
it.
That's what I'm talking about now.
But the broader message is, in you know, bringing Flip into the conversation, and obviously it was so touching for me to see that instant kind of remorse and feelings for you had for him. But it's like a lot of things have taught us time also is don't wait on stuff. Cherish every day you get to spend together, just like y'all are doing there right now. It's the coolest thing ever to see. And I just want to make the point to people, like, so, you know, my dad could be any day. We thought we lost him Sunday. I mean, they were just, that's it, get your affairs in order. He won't make it back from this. And so you're faced with that and you're thinking, oh my gosh, you know, Dudley's lost his, you've lost yours, you know, your dad's in tough health sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's that last day, you know, don't, man, I got to go by and see him. What I'm trying to say to people is spending time with the one you want to right now is just, that day today is just as valuable as that day will be if it's our last day 30 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So don't waste time. That's all I'm getting at. Y'all are a great example. Y'all have not wasted much time at all in life. And it shows in the way you have embraced and attacked life and things you love and, you know, and spread that to so many people. So I just, my little sermon, let's just all don't waste time. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And if you,
know,
tell people how you feel about them, you know, don't wait till it's too late.
You know, I consider once you get to be a certain age, in a certain health, if you will, it's almost like trying to climb Everest, and they call it the death zone, right? When you get over 24,000 feet, it's unsustainable. You can't. You're like Flip always said, we're getting closer to the end than to the beginning, but in reality, you're closer to the end than to the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So every day, it's like when I walk, you know, a dog or Nikki's dog at night, and I see the stars, you know, and it's a great time just to reflect, not only in your friendships, but also in your own personal life. I think it's like we are so blessed and so lucky to have this life, that reflection is a very rare thing. When are we ever quiet? When we're fishing alone, when we're hiking alone. And that gives your mind a great chance to move and wander to all the great places, whether even in a business. All my best business decisions were made fishing on a river by myself. Because it's not always about the fish, it's about the journey, right?
Right. The time.
Yep.
And life is so congested because we travel in cars, we get to the workplace. Most people have never walked on grass at a certain age, right? They're still walking on sidewalks.
So sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
So it's like time alone too is invaluable as much as it is in sharing with our fathers and our peers. And I think that that's really an important time to reflect, and also where you can find out where you may want to go next in your life.
Yeah.
Some good words.
That's good words. No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
We've been joking. I know Lanny and I and Jess have been joking lately a little bit about buying the boat. You know?
Oh, no, it's all about
And
the
that
boat.
just kind of reminds me like that's probably one of the worst investments you can make, or
That's
like
one of the best
or a-
investments you
or
can
a-
make. Have you
or a
lost your
camper.
mind?
But it is one of the best life investments.
That's exactly
Time.
right. Time.
You
How do you want to spend your time?
can't put a price on that.
Let's go get one.
You know what boat stands for, right?
I do. I got several of them. But does it stand for the same thing out there as it does here?
Bust that another 1,000.
Yeah, that's right. Ours is bet on another 1,000 because that's what it's going to cost you.
Hey, look, let's Mitchell. We've got a trivia question that we want to ask you guys, and I got a feeling that Andy may, both of them, Nikki, they may take us to school and teach us something
I'm
here with this
sure.
trivia question. Trivia is brought to you by our friends at the Peanut Patch, which Andy, they make some great bowl peanuts.
That's right.
All right, Mitchell, let's go with the question.
Well, the user review, what did he win?
Oh, look, Lanny, today we're giving.
What are we
You
giving
guys
away?
are golfers. Y'all will appreciate this. A couple of weeks ago, we had Brian Harmon on.
We're giving away the Bottomland golf bag.
We're giving
today?
away the prize today. The winner is going to get a Sunday golf camouflage golf
Bottomland
bag.
golf
It's
bag.
in
They
it's
make
in
a
bottom.
great golf bag.
Yeah, they
Yes,
do.
They are
Great
they
people
are
to work
awesome. Camo golf bags. How
Love
about that? Sunday golf. So who won it today?
So the winner is Bowfly 51.
Bowfly 51.
All right, Bowfly.
BEAU
BOW?
BOW.
Bow like
Bowfly.
bow hunter.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
He
All right,
said-
They might fly fish too.
all right, Bowfly, get in touch with us and we'll get that shipped out to you. So
He said this show is full of good information and the guests are outstanding.
All
Golf
right.
and hunting are my favorite hobbies.
Look at
how
there.
about that?
Thank goodness for the guests.
Yeah, we have great guests. Look at those things. All right, so let's ask them the question.
So tarpon are considered facultative air breathers, which means what?
Well, yeah, yeah. So they have an air bladder, right? So that's the beauty of a tarpon, and they're 100 million years old because they can live in really terrible water. They'll find good water if they have to, but they have the ability to come up and actually breathe air, and you can hear them breathe, suck in air when they roll in those early mornings when you're surrounded by darkness, and it gives them that ability to survive a lot of the the adversities that we see in the water column out there now.
Yeah, especially when the water temperature gets above 85, 90 degrees and there's no oxygen in the water, they can come up and breathe oxygen from the air. So
I never knew that.
That is right.
Man, wildlife it's just amazing.
What was that word you used? Facultative?
Facultative.
Facultative. Well, that's way better trivia than the Jimmy Buffett or Hunter Thompson question we were going to ask.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was killer. Good job, Mitchell.
So Nikki and Andy Mill, we have really enjoyed having
Very
you guys
much
on.
so.
No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
I want to get a hat like Andy's got.
You wouldn't look as cool as he does.
Yeah.
No, Bobby.
No, Bobby.
Some things are better left alone.
Yeah.
Well,
Nikki,
it's been a great joy for us too, and thank you so much for this invitation. It's always great to, touch base with other outdoorsmen.
Yes, sir.
I learned a
Yes.
lot about what you guys do there, and the bottom line is that we do what we love, and we're trying to do the best we can to save what we love.
There you go.
that's right.
Yeah, y'all did. We didn't mention a minute ago, but you you gave a sermon on getting up every day and living every day and zest for life. It's like being grateful for everything. The good old vitamin G, we call
that's
it
a good
here.
one.
It's amazing how it's just kind of really simple if you approach life with that gratitude and what you do, what a full life you get. And if you're a sourpuss and you're negative and you complain all the time, you're not going anywhere. And so it's pretty simple. I mean, y'all are such a glowing example of how to live your life along those lines. So thank you and you're great communicators in your own way over time. So,
Yeah.
No doubt.
thanks.
So, guys, we've been mailing a magazine to somebody down in Florida, Gamekeeper magazine. Are we sending it to the right address for you guys to get it?
I live in Colorado, so if you're not getting it, you're sending it to the wrong address. Are you getting it, Dad?
I don't know. I haven't been there in about 3 months. I got a stack of mail.
We might need to revisit
The
that
fall
address.
issue will be waiting on
We'll
him.
work
Yeah,
on
that's
that.
exactly right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
100%.
appreciate it, guys. I listen to a lot of your podcasts, and you guys are doing an excellent
Well,
job.
thank
so.
you for that. Look, if you're ever
Likewise.
driving down from Colorado to Florida, stop on in and see us. Yeah.
Awesome. That'd be great.
On the
Yeah.
Ponderosa.
Bring your bow. There you go.
Yeah.
Take
We'll
you
let
to.
you, we've got a deer that's named that we.
Yeah,
might
we can
let
name you a
later.
buck. Yeah.
Name it Little Nicky.
Yeah, there you go. Love it. I love it.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much. We
Yeah,
appreciate
we
it.
appreciate y'all being here.
Guys.
Yeah, y'all are awesome.
Yep. All right, so guys, that was great.
Yeah,
They're
good stuff.
such good guys. And the Millhouse podcast is what
Yeah.
theirs is.
Tune
You can
on
listen
in.
to it.
Yes.
It sure
I
is.
think a lot more people know about theirs than ours.
I
Yeah.
think it's a really popular podcast.
Very popular,
Yeah,
that's right.
It is. So I think that's it, guys. It's about lunchtime. I know
It's
everybody
past
wants
lunchtime.
knows to go. And why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Mitchell.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.